What is the best case of you just fucked with the wrong person you've witnessed? 10-year-old me seeing my dad's face when I didn't want to do the dishes and told my mom that she should do them because she did nothing around the house. I don't know how I survived tbh. Did the same. My mom told me to clean my room. I told her why. Don't you clean yours, it's worse than mine. In the middle of dinner that night she said, why don't you tell your father what you said to me today? My mom had a habit of randomly deciding to rearrange the furniture every few months, mainly because she was bored and wanted to do something. It was annoying at worst, not really something to get worked up about though. Usually just things like the couch is here now, and the TV is over there now. Why? Oh, I don't know. I thought it looked nice. However, one time she rearranged my bedroom, came home from school, went up to my room, and oh, your room is like this now. Oh hell no. While she was busy making dinner and my dad wasn't home yet, I went into their bedroom and rearranged their furniture pretty damn quietly too. She never heard anything. Dad came home, went up to get changed, and yelled down the stairs to ask why she rearranged the room. Confusion reigned. I felt like a ducking legend, and she never touched my room again. Got in a bit of trouble though, but whatever. Stepdad used to run the Iron Man equivalent in our area. Also had the absolute conviction found in his generation that justice was always on his side. Also he always slept naked, which I learned as a result of this incident. One late summer night, 2 idiot kids tried to steal his truck out of his driveway. He sees this happening from his bedroom window and goes tearing out of the house, totally nude, and chases these 2 terrified kids 4 blocks screaming, "I'm gonna get you." He tackles one and the cops were on scene in moments because obviously some concerned neighbor noticed this happening at 2 AM in our sleepy little town. God only knows what that 911 call sounded like. Probably a good thing the cop already knew the kid as a car thief. He hung out with a sobbing teen and suggested my stepdad sit in the cruiser till his wife could bring him some pants. The story is great regardless, but for some reason the naked thing and the final comment by the police officer really makes it. May I assume that in his regular life with you and your mom he was relatively low key? Oh yeah, he's a great guy, just never duck with his truck, basically. In middle school, during lunch period, a kid in my grade was getting picked on by this larger kid and his friends. He said, "Stop it, leave me alone," a few times. No one watching did anything because we were just dumb kids who didn't want to get picked on either. Large kid was poking him and calling him names while his buddies laughed. Suddenly he slapped him in the head. The other kid went bananas. Face red, tears streaming down his face. He jumped on large kid and beat his ass, crying, "Just leave me alone." Teachers broke it up and began scolding him, but everyone who had been watching vouched for him, said he was only defending himself. I think they both got suspended anyway. No one messed with that kid anymore though. The defender getting in trouble always upsets me. The lazy staff just doesn't want to take the time to figure out what really went down. It has to do with legal liability, not laziness. Most things in education are about avoiding lawsuits. A friend of mine's stepdad is not a good guy. He is full of rage and will lash out without a second thought. This made him the wrong target for 2 guys who tried to mug him near an ATM. They came up to him and demanded he withdraw money. He grabbed one of them and smashed the guy's head and face into a brick wall. The other guy ran away, but he chased him down and beat the shit out of him. My dad had ankylosing spondylitis, a disease that gave him this hunched over look, and his hair was white, and he seemed older and weaker than he was. In reality, he had a bad temper, came from a part of the world where people are very touchy about their honor, and his illness made him insecure and even more likely to lash out. I personally witnessed people mess with him about small shit and then back down when they understood that he'd been waiting for something like this all day and was ready to take it to the maximum, even if they were younger or bigger. It was my first lesson about not messing with strangers. Edit. Wanted to add, my dad wasn't a bully. He messed with people who had it coming, not random folks. I didn't witness it, but I got first-hand accounts and saw the police report. Bob was a delivery driver at Domino's and was a little off his rocker. kind of older upper 60s, maybe all the way to 70, and the kind of guy who would cut out a 10-year-old to make a point, but also gave away our cancelled orders at the end of the night to homeless people. Anyways, Bob's delivering a pizza and gets mugged. The robber walked up and hit Bob in the head with a brick, dropped the brick, took his cash, and took the pizza. Bob got up, took the brick, and proceeded to mug him back, and then called the police. The gangbanger in his 20s was too terrified of the pizza man in his 70s to run away, and waited to be arrested. My youngest daughter was getting picked on in elementary school by a boy who was 2 grades above her. He constantly taunted, pushed, and annoyed her. One day he pushed her from behind, and she dropped her books. She immediately turned around and full on kicked him square in the nuts with all the force a soccer playing leg could muster. I've been told he curled up and bawled for several minutes while my daughter was sent to the principal's office. She was smiling when her mother picked her up from school. Identical thing happened to my workmate's daughter when she snapped she kneed her bully in the nuts, and when he bent over she then drove her knee into his nose. He never picked on her again. When my wife was T-boned by a drunk driver, it happened to be right in front of a bar that a friend owned. The bouncer at the door witnessed the accident and saw the drunk jump from his car and run. Bouncer proceeds to chase him down, beat him, and drag him back to wait for the cops. When I thanked him, his response was, "Are you kidding? That was a once-in-a-lifetime chance to administer a well-deserved beating." Till bouncers enjoy kicking ass? Depends. Lots of times you don't know what's going on. You're just interrupting an argument 2 people were having that had nothing to do with anything other than alcohol. But sometimes, I was bouncing at a Latino bar. It was loud, and I don't even speak Spanish, so I was mostly just looking for angry faces. This white chick, alone, started hitting on a couple guys sitting with their women, got mad when she was turned down I guess, and started arguing with all 4. My friend removes her. I step in and block because she's pissed off these 2 guys enough, somehow, that they are going to follow her outside. I look back and my friend is talking to WC, telling her she has to go. Zero warning. She swings and rakes his face with her nails. His reaction is an instantaneous witch slap that spins WC around in place like a top. He grabs her and shoves her out of the building. Meanwhile I'm still blocking the 2 Latino dudes. One of them says, "I just want to tell you what happened. She was the one starting a fight." I respond with, "Yeah, we know." Armed robbers thwarted trying to hold up McDonald's where 11 Special Forces officers happened to be eating dinner. That's rolling a 0 on luck right there, but the guy who pointed a gun at Jin and lived rolled a 20. I was in India with my Swedish friend. She was a semi-professional handball player at the time, so she was pretty muscular. Now, if you've ever been to India with or as a white woman, you're going to get groped. Often. Not to say all men in India are such pigs, but it's a populated country and enough of them are for to be an almost daily, or in some cases multiple times a day event. It was just after a heavy monsoon rain in Goa, and we were walking along a dirt path near the beach, right alongside this giant 20cm deep puddle that basically covered the whole road. She'd been accidentally groped twice already that day and had done nothing, but this time was different. 5 or 6 youngish guys, late teens, maybe early 20s, all in designer jeans, sneakers, and baseball hats, and so on. Despite us being at the beach, basically rich kids from Mumbai were walking along blocking the whole path and literally just grabbing girls as they passed by them. Then they got to her, and one of them just ran his hand up from her waist, across her breast, and she ducking socked him across the jaw so fast and hard he just crumpled backwards before anyone knew what was happening. Right into the huge mud puddle in all his designer gear. He splashed around a bit and we thought his friends were going to kick off, but, of course, they all put their heads down and kept walking, terrified as she started shouting at him. He tried to get up, reaching for his hat which was floating nearby, and she puts her foot on his chest and just pushes him back into the puddle, right down, making sure he was completely covered, face and everything. "Stay there till you can't see me anymore," she said, and we walked off. I checked back, and he was still lying in the puddle, even though she was 50 meters away or so, just waiting for her to leave. It was glorious. My family and I grew up in Baltimore City. The specific neighborhood we lived in wasn't the best, but certainly not the worst either at the time. Late 90s - early 2000s. One day when my little brother was around 7, he was outside in the street next to our yard playing on his skateboard. A group of kids not much older were walking by looking to start trouble. It all happened so fast, they ran up and starting beating on him, then stole his skateboard. My dad was home that day, my sister and I ran inside hysterical, and without even thinking twice he jumped up from his lazy boy in only his t-shirt and shorts, maybe only touched one of our 7 stairs out front and absolutely bolted after those punk ass kids. This 50-year-old man at the time chased them for like 3 blocks in his bare ass feet and they are screaming fearing for their lives. They finally dropped the skateboard at some point and my dad stopped chasing them and grabbed it. But holy duck, I'd never seen him so angry and move so fast. Signature angry dad warning sign. His eyes get huge and piercing, terrifyingly blue. When he came back his feet were so bloody and roughed up from straight sprinting on the concrete through gravel roads and alleyways. We never saw those kids near our house, let alone around our neighborhood again. My dad is the greatest. Don't duck with his kids. Didn't witness it, but it was all over the news some years ago. In Los Angeles, a guy tries to hijack a van. Canadian Olympic judo team was in that van, including the trainer. To quote one of the members of that team, he did not know what hit him. Judo is the art of hitting someone with the planet, so probably that. Nice. Fits with my other favorite martial arts description. Aikido, the gentle oriental art of folding people. I think Jiu-Jitsu is better, the art of folding clothes with people still in them. Wing Chun, the ancient art of stop hitting yourself. Some like 15-year-old somehow got my 16-year-old younger sister's phone number and kept calling her saying creepy stuff like I'm gonna rape you or I'm watching you. My dad is a federal investigator. Last I heard, that kid is no longer allowed to have or operate a telephone for a certain amount of time without parental supervision. I had a creepy friend that liked a girl and did the same thing, but not as crazy of claims, just general harassment. And when she asked him whose number is this, he gave my name. Luckily it was fairly easy to disprove as I just showed them what my number was in class the next day. Honestly, I'm not sure what he thought was going to happen, just probably realized he went too far and wanted anonymity, so he still had a chance with the girl or something. He did end up sucker punching me on school grounds for asking why he did that. Just ate it though, because I was already in some trouble at the time and it wasn't worth ruining my life. At my high school as a kid, one douchebag guy named Rich was picking on a kid all day. He followed the kid out to the buses, jawing at him the whole time, while the kid just walked with his head down and his hands in his pockets. Rich said something that stopped the kid in his tracks and he pulled his hand out of his pocket with a pencil, gripped like a knife, and whirled around to plunge the pencil into the side of Rich's jaw. It went through his cheek and knocked a tooth out. Same situation, but 2 kids went to the technical school in the morning. The quiet nerdy kid had been picked on for weeks, and on the way back from tech school he told his bully, "When we get back to school I'm going to kill you." The bully laughed. When they got off the bus, the bully got in the kid's face and the kid whipped out a carpet knife he had stolen from tech school and just started stabbing and slashing the bully all across the chest and stomach. Oh shit, that second one is brutal. That's why you don't push people to their breaking point. I worked with the second bully at a grocery store a few years later. The subject came up, and I told him he was a douchebag to the kid and bad things happen to douchebags. He didn't try and argue. I'm also a pretty big guy, so I doubt he would. Was at the bar on the back patio part with my girlfriends. There was this deaf woman sitting with her other deaf friend. They looked mid-20s about, and they were just sitting there quietly signing to each other. This drunk Kevin Federline type dude comes up and kept hitting on the woman. She clearly indicated non-verbally that she wasn't interested, but he still just hung around hovering over her, and by hover, he was literally hovering pressed up against her chair, touching her arms and back, while she did her best to ignore him and talk with her friend, while occasionally indicating to him to leave her alone. Then, all of a sudden she laid him out so fast. All I saw was him laying on his back looking dazed, while she stood over him and Helen Keller yelling at him. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please subscribe to my channel for more curated daily Reddit stories.